Final two panel discussions of the day. The first, training workers with the skills they need for new economy jobs, will be facilitated by DITO's own Workforce Development Director, Sonia Aguilar. So as we transition, we'll begin that panel in just a couple minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Aguilar, and I'm Director of Workforce Development. This session is about training workers with the skills they need for new economy jobs. Industries predicted to rebound and grow are education, health services, government, business and professional services, along with new economy jobs in energy sectors and green technology. The occupations and job titles remain the same, but the skills and the competencies that are evolving in this new economy. We all know that new technology drives new economy jobs. You may be asking yourself, what is Delaware doing to identify and stay in the forefront of these workforce challenges? Thanks to the leadership of Governor Jack Markell and his administration, state agencies are working together more than ever, leveraging resources, finding ways to collaborate and develop strong working relationships and common goals and objectives that ultimately result in getting opportunities for Delaware residents to improve their quality of life by either earning a degree or learning a marketable skill or starting their own business, whatever it may be, that results in gainful employment and the opportunity to attain their career aspirations. Currently, our state agencies are involved in various workforce initiatives. Higher education representatives are at the table together, creating career pathways so that workers can advance their skills and move from certificate to degree programs in their chosen careers. Race to the Top and the new student testing, along with education focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, will keep K through 12 on the right track. The Department of Labor has formed a business service unit whose focus is to meet employers' needs for qualified workers. DITO and the Department of Labor work in close collaboration to meet the immediate need and growing needs of our existing companies and to attract the support of new companies to Delaware. A sharper focus is technical workers. A new addition to support the existing workforce is the Deltech's Innovation and Technology Center, which state-of-the-art equipment to master your skills in industrial, mechanical, and green technologies. Our education institutions have embraced the green movement, developing both certificate and degree programs ranging from retrofitting to weatherization to renewable solar energy and energy management, just to name a few. The Delaware Center for Enterprise Development has partnered with the Del State University College of Agriculture and Related Sciences to bring mobile training to underserved and disadvantaged rural areas in Delaware. And let's not forget our adult education programs, implemented to support those Delawareans with barriers to employment, such as the Broad Technology Opportunity Program, known as BTOP, Governor's Reentry Project, the Department of Labor's One-Stop Assessor Project, and the James H. Groves Transition Program. These are some of the initiatives that your state agencies have embarked on to ensure that we are training workers with the skills they need for new economy jobs, because you can't expect the challenges of today with yesterday's tools and expect to be in business tomorrow. Today you will hear from some of our partners, the Honorable John McMahon from the Secretary, Department of Labor, Maureen Whalen, Director of Adult Education Division, Gwen Jones, Director of the Delaware Workforce Investment, and Maureen Laffey, Director of the Higher Education Office. As facilitator, I will direct a question to one of our panelists, and that they have 1 minute to answer the question. I will let them know when the minute is up and they can wrap up their responses. Hopefully, this will allow us for a couple of minutes for a Q&A at the end of the session. Thank you. This question is directed to the entire panel, and we'll start with Maureen. The most challenging aspect of running a business is finding good, reliable, and qualified workers. What action is your agency taking to overcome this challenge?
I think, as Mr. Echo had said during his lunchtime speech, education is real important to get businesses going, because in education we provide those basic skills to be able to create that creativity and that innovation that's going on. In DOE, we're already working with Race to the Top, in which there was only 2 states that did get that grant from the feds, and in that we're working with making more effective teachers, making sure we have rigorous curriculum, making sure that we have rigorous assessments, and also making sure that every child is able to get to what their potential is. Having said that, there are over 77,000 folks in this state who haven't got a GED or a high school diploma, and they range in age from 16 up to whatever. Adult education is focused on making sure that those people are able to get their skills, and it's in getting those skills that businesses benefit, because we can bring those skills to a more qualified workforce.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon?
I find it difficult to say hello in one, so this is going to be a difficult challenge. You know, one of the things in Delaware law, if you sign up for unemployment compensation, you are mandated to sign up for our education and training programs. It's codified. One of the things that when we started looking at our operations, we realized we did a great job with UI. We did a great job with getting people training. But there was a leg of the stool that we completely had forgotten about, and that was the business community. As a result of our analysis, we went out and we started working much closer with the business community. We came up with our business services group. We call it the business services group. The governor refers to it as the job squad, but it's the business services group. And as a result of that, what we have done is we've reached out and tried to find what the needs of the business community were and how many jobs they had and what they wanted us to produce for them. Just figuring in these draconian times, we have about 30,000 resumes on file. You know, formerly, when unemployment is at 3%, you're looking at a lot of people who need help and training to find a job. I can assure you at this point in time, we actually have PhDs in our resumes. So we are, at this point in time, we feel we have the ability to fill jobs no matter what level of individual you're looking for.
Thank you. Maureen?
Yes, the purpose of the Higher Education Office is to really explain to people, try to get the word out about access to improve higher education, their higher education skills. As Maureen said, there are a lot of people who don't have the formal education who are out there now and could really use it to be trained to improve their skills at their workplace or perhaps for different jobs. What we try to do is work with other state agencies and organizations, such as DITO, to support training, further training of the workers that are in the workplace now, constantly trying to upgrade people's skills.
Thank you. Gwen?
Well, everybody sitting at this table is certainly one of the Delaware Workforce Investment Board partners. And what the Delaware Workforce Investment Board is mandated to do is have a majority of our members be from the private business sector. And so we really count on their expertise and their knowledge to help us to be able to select the kind of training programs that will train people for businesses. And so we also count on them to let us know what it is that the businesses want. And so now we're working very closely through one of our strategic planning goals to be able to work with the Department of Labor, as Secretary McMahon said, as they reach out into the business community with their tool. It's called Delaware Job Link, and you can get to delawarejoblink.gov and see what kind of training programs are there. And we're trying to expand out from what is currently being served to get out there and ask a broader business community what types of employees they need, what types of jobs they have available. And so we're expanding.
Okay. Thank you very much. Back to Secretary McMahon. Does the state have any programs in place that can make it affordable for me to provide OJT training for new employees?
Short answer, no. To be perfectly honest, we do not. All our fundings that we get for training basically come from the federal government, and they are all formula driven. Now, that is not to say that this is not an area we should be looking at. When the governor took over, you may remember, we had just received notice that Chrysler was closing, and within a very short period of time, Valero was closing, and in addition, GM was closing. At that point in time, the federal government made available to us something called National Emergency Grants. We went after one and got one for PBF when PBF bought Valero. We received a considerable amount of money. We sat down with the representatives from PBF, and they told us if we could do some OJT training for us, they would actually pick people who formerly worked there, which meant we were getting Delawareans back to work, and they would also bring them back to work early. They laid off about 450 people from the plant at that point in time. I am most pleased to report we are back to almost 400 of those individuals being rehired, and they're rehired primarily because of the fact we could do some OJT. And along with Gwen, I think it's something that the Workforce Investment Board needs to look at. With the federal dollars, we're formula driven. With the blue collar dollars, I really think we need to start looking at the fact that we cannot continue just to make people eligible for entry-level, low-paying jobs. We have to look at the next phase and bring people up to a higher skill level.
Thank you. This question is for Gwen Jones from Workforce Investment Board. How does the WIB determine what training programs to fund, and are there performance measures that the trainers have to meet?
Yes, thank you, Sonia. We determine which programs are funded by reviewing labor market data through the Office of Occupational and Labor Market Information. We are looking at their data to see what new jobs there are or what types of replacement jobs there are. Once we do that, we create what's called a high demand occupation list. And from that list, we're able to determine what occupations, are being employed for. And so we create that list, and we work with our training providers. And we expect a lot from our training providers. We expect them to give our clients an excellent training experience. In addition to that, we ask that they have a job development component. We don't want to just train to train. The goal in working with Department of Labor is to actually get people into employment. And so we're asking that they also provide industry-approved certifications for these students who are taking their programs. Yes, there are performance measures which we have to adhere to according to the federal government. We look at our providers' enrollments and what their completions are, and then we ask them out of their completions and their enrollments, how many people have they helped get jobs? What is their entered employment rate? And also, what is their employment retention rate? And then we look at the average earnings for these occupations across the board to see if these are certainly outcomes are certainly producing jobs and adding income into the state of Delaware.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This question is for Maureen Whalen from Adult Education. I have several good performers that have demonstrated leadership skills, but aren't able to communicate effectively in English. What types of programs are available so that they can obtain the skills needed to advance within my company?
Sonia, let me just tell you that I think it was brilliant of Dito to leave the panels for last and next to last. So we'll just go on from there. It's a great question because according to the last census, 11.6% of all Delawareans can't, or rather don't record English as their primary language. Now I'm speaking from the hat of adult education. All right, what ends up happening is there's an awful lot of folks out there who have a lot of potential and who can go out there and help businesses, but language is what their main barrier is. I've got 11 programs running throughout the state with various locations besides just 11 central sites that are teaching ESL, which is English for a second language. And what they end up doing is their point is to create fluency in the language in order for folks to be better workers, be able to help their families more, and also to be active community members. So our point in all of those programs are going to be to get facility with the language so that they can go to work and be able to do what it is that their supervisor would ask, and have the skills to be able to be promoted up to better jobs. The other kinds of programs that we run are workforce ESL programs. An example is down in Dover, we have with the collaboration of Dido and Polytech and also Purdue, we have classes that are actually working on-site. Those classes are tailored to what the needs of the employer are, and those classes go on at the end of shifts or at the beginning of other shifts so that folks will be able to get those skills, to be able to use their language and use all of their other skills in benefit of who their employer is.
Thank you. Next question is for higher ed, Maureen Laffey. I just purchased new equipment for my business, and it will require some of my employees to upgrade their skills. Does the state have a program to help my workers upgrade their skills?
The Higher Ed Office administers a program that is funded through Dido called the Governor's Education Grant for Working Adults. This is a nice grant program, and because it's grant funding, it's not to be paid back. It's not a loan that needs to be paid back. The participant can attend classes, training from the 3 vocational technical high schools as well as 6 participating colleges in Delaware. We're covered, the schools are from Sussex County up through Newcastle County. They can attend take coursework to either get a certificate, a diploma. There are various apprenticeship programs, there are credit programs, 2-year, 4-year, continuing ed. So there's quite a bit that they can choose from if they want to increase their skills. And it's, they can receive up to $2,000 a year. The state pays for 65% of their tuition. The school agrees to reduce their tuition by 10%, and then the employed student or their employer would pay the remaining 25%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Back to Secretary McMahon. I own a small company, and I need to find good, reliable help. How can I fill my jobs when I don't have a website, Facebook page, or an advertising budget?
If you don't have any of those, you must be my age. Anybody younger has all those. There's no doubt about it. One of the things, I think I mentioned it earlier, if you're in that situation and you call one of our business services group in our employment and training division, I honestly believe we can become your best friend. We have something called Delaware Job Link, and on there, as an employer, you can go on and utilize it and use it free. And all you have to do is register. We then verify that you are a legitimate business, and you get a password. Once you get the password, you can go in and research any resumes we have. The only thing we're going to ask you to do is you have job openings, register with us. Then we will try to make a match. As I indicated earlier, I mean, these are very dramatic times from an economic perspective, and we have 30,000 resumes. And just the other day, one of the individuals at Dido called up and gave us a job description for a highly skilled, very talented individual, and wanted to know if we might have anything resume-based that might fill it. We came up with 7 potentials. Now, I would guarantee you if this was 6 or 7 years ago when we had 3% unemployment, we would not have that quality, but we have it now. And we certainly want to be a resource to each and every one of you. We want to be a partner with each and every one of you, and we have the resources to do it. So please take advantage of it, and we're free. You're already paying for us, or the federal government's paying for us.
Maureen Laffey. I have several good employees with LPN licenses that obtain their training through the Workforce Investment Board. The requirements of the job have changed, and they need to obtain an RN degree. Is there any program that can assist them in obtaining their RN degree while still working as an LPN?
Thank you. As I mentioned before, we have the 3 vocational technical schools who participate in the governor's education grant for working adults. They do have programs to take for nursing specifically. Del Tech also has programs for nurses to improve their skills, to upgrade. They can either get an associate's degree in nursing from being a practical nurse, or they can upgrade their skills to become a registered nurse. And again, we will fund up to $2,000 a year, 65% of their tuition costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gwen Jones? Who is the target audience of the workforce, of the Delaware Workforce Investment Board? Funded programs, and how do they apply?
The target audience would be adults who have barriers to employment and would need skill training to obtain a job, or they are chronically unemployed. Also, to dislocated workers, that would be individuals who have been laid off or their work has gone away. And these individuals would also have supportive services help with other things that kind of sort of keep them from being able to follow through on their training programs. That's called supportive services funding. How you apply is you would go to any of the one-stop career centers at any one of the Department of Labor locations, and you would request to speak with someone about training opportunities. Those are Department of Labor locations are Newcastle, Newark, Dover, and in Georgetown. You can also view the programs that are under the Workforce Investment Act by going to delawarejoblink.gov.
Thank you. Maureen Whalen? I have a small business, and I've noticed when the cash registers are down, my employees have a difficult time giving and counting out change. What is being done to address these literacy issues in the adult education world?
Thanks, Sonia. Interestingly enough, math is one of the content areas in which not only kids but also adults have a lot of problems. If you look at the TIMS, which is the Trends in International and Math Science Studies, one of the tests that Mr. Echo was talking about, we are behind Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea. In the IELTS, which is the International Adult Literacy Survey, out of 6 countries, we're number 4. Now, there's a number of reasons for that. What happens is, I think, when you come into math, there is a lot of belief on the learner's part, whether they be a child or whether they be an adult. They can't do it. And we have to be able to break that. So what we're ending up doing, at least when you come into an adult basic education program, which means you have to be 16 or over, no longer part of K through 12, and you do not have a GED or a high school diploma, what we're going to do is we're going to assess you. Yeah, we're going to test you. And we're going to find out where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And then all we're going to do is we're going to focus on your weakness, because our deal is to get you in and out of here as fast as you can so you can get out and get a job or get a better job to support your family. Our deal is not that a GED or a high school diploma is a nice piece of paper to have on a wall so you can stare at it on a Friday night. It's about taking that piece of paper and using it as access to get to the next step. Whether that's Del Tech, DSU, UD, one of the WIB training programs, whatever. That's where it is we need to go. So we're going to assess you. What we're then going to do is give you the materials that are specified for whatever weakness it is that you have. And then when we do instruction, it's going to be target instruction that's in contextualized environments. So what that means is I'm not going to give you an algebra questions for the heck of knowing what algebra is. I'm going to give you algebra because I want you to be able to apply it in a real life situation and to see that math is a way of living, not just a subject area.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon, I know that DOL is the resource for blue-collar workers and unskilled workers, but I need professionals with a minimum of 4-year degrees. Is there a state agency that can assist me in recruiting professionals and highly skilled individuals?
I'm starting to think that I'm repeating myself with every answer, and it's going to be the same answer. Right now, as I've indicated, we have 30,000 resumes. I can assure you we have quite a few that have advanced degrees. So at this point in time, we certainly can be a very valuable resource to anybody recruiting any level of individual with skills. But let me get off this a little bit. We keep talking about workforce development in the state, and I like to look at workforce development like a train. And in the front cars, we have the people with skills and high pay, and then back in the middle cars, we have those with lesser skills and lesser pay. And then in the back at the caboose, we have a hell of a lot of people that have low skills and really are unemployed, whether they're dislocated, and many of them are the poor. And the worst thing is we still have an awful lot of people who are standing on a platform wanting to get on a train. So as I indicated, I think from a workforce development standpoint, we've done a wonderful job giving people basic skills. But we need, as the WIB and anybody else involved in workforce development, especially education, to try to figure a way how to get the people from the middle cars to the front cars and the front cars off the train, because there's still a lot of people who want to get on the train. So this is probably an excellent time for the state. There is a confluence of so many things coming together at this point in time in workforce development and education, and some of the studies that are going on, that I think Delaware is in an extremely unique position that we can actually develop a strategy to address the long-term needs that we all know we're going to need to be successful in recruiting businesses to this state.
Thank you. Maureen Whalen, I hear a lot of talk about race to the top. What is K through 12 and higher education doing to assist students in developing soft skills in preparation for entering the workplace?
That's a great question again. You had a lot of great questions. It's good. I think one of the things that we have to understand, and maybe back in the day when I went to school and dinosaurs roamed the earth, what happened is we thought about school as subjects, just subjects. We talk about it as math and language and social studies. And gosh knows we have 22 credits now in order to be able to graduate. Every student has to have that. And we introduced Algebra 2 this year also, in hopes that we're going to get to that mathematical thinking so that we'll be able to prepare kids and adults to be able to get into technology and engineering and science and math jobs. However, what I think we've understood and what teachers are getting to now, and what the entire education system is getting to now, it's not just about the subjects. It's about the processes that you go through in order to get the subjects. It's about doing the homework, right? Because that's an assignment like you'd get at work. You have to do it well, and you have to do it to a certain extent. It's about attending. It's about making sure you're there all the time so somebody can rely on you. It's about teamwork. It's about being able to work with the other kids in the group, with the other adults. Our ESL programs are perfect for that. They learn languages by getting into groups and starting talking about real-life situations. It's about being able to think things out. I don't want to teach you Algebra 2 so you can pass that test at the end of the year, so you put B down instead of C. I want to teach you Algebra 2 because it's a way to think, and it's also a way for you to be able to have tools to think about the problems me as a teacher will never be able to figure out. Our deal in education is to be able to give students, whether they're kids or whether they're adults, the tools to be able to go out and be the better workers, to be the more effective family members, and to be the active community members.
Thank you. Gwen Jones, what are the qualifications to participate in a WIB training program? Is it only for unemployed workers?
Okay. The basic qualification is you have to be 18 years or older, and for adults, meet the basic eligibility requirement. For dislocated workers, you would have had to have been laid off or lost your employment if your employer had gone away. No, it is not only for unemployed individuals. There are some income guidelines for those employed participants, and you can find those guidelines at the www.delawareworks.com, and that's /WIB, and that's the Workforce Investment Board's website, where you can see that grid of what your family income guidelines can be.
Okay, thank you. And that is our final question for our panelists. However, I do have a question for myself. Blue-collar training grants. I'm a small business. Do I qualify for these types of grants? And what are the eligibility requirements? I manage the blue-collar training program, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about it. Companies have a need for customized training. It's a matching grant, and your match would be an in-kind contribution. Company has to be able to be eligible, you have to pay into the unemployment fund. It's for full-time employers, full-time employees, and it's for up to entry level up to frontline supervisors. So DITO does manage this particular program. If you have a need or you want to know if you qualify, please contact our office. Right now, I'd like to open the floor up for some questions. No questions at all? We must have done a pretty good job, don't you think?
Here's a question.
Okay.
My name is Sarah Harrison, and we did some research in late 2009, taking a look at all of the organizations that were providing services to the older youth up to age 21. Now, the CDC identifies up to 26. And when we took a look at that age, we didn't see very few organizations doing much at all for 18 to 26. Yet there are almost 35,000 youth in Delaware fall in that age group. And they also meet the qualifications where they are not in college, not in any higher education, may or may not have a high school degree, and they are underemployed from the standpoint of not making a livable wage. And I'd just like to get an idea of what is being done, or has this group been identified? Because on a national basis, they have been identified and captured in a bucket, okay? So I just want to know what's going on with that group. So you could say 18 to 26.
Gwen?
I would just go first. For what you consider, we cut off our youth at 24. I do know that for older veterans, older youth veterans who have come back, that is up to age 29. But what I would say to you is if they're 18 or older, they can actually come in and qualify for an ITA and could get training under the Workforce Investment Act using their ITA voucher. I understand with youth that they also need some additional maybe counseling or guidance through. And we have such really awesome case managers. I mean, they really are good. And again, we have partners. We have a youth council. The Workforce Investment Board has another committee called the Youth Council. And our case managers and our workers can access any data or information from our shared youth partners across the state. So it would be a combination of, again, partnering and bringing in those resources that you would need to bring in, but certainly we could work to provide those older youth the services and the connections and linkages that they would need. So I would love to talk to you afterward.
Anyone else?
That age group is certainly welcome to come to the Department of Labor and take advantage of our services. They can come in, they can get an assessment. We will work with them in developing a resume. They may, or because everybody who comes in is not eligible for training, they may be eligible for training, and if they're underemployed, they still can have access. The other thing is we will allow them access to JobLink. And one of the things that has improved substantially in the past 6 or 8 months is the number of jobs that we now have registered in JobLink. So despite the fact we have, and this is one of the things I tend to drive our people crazy with, I keep saying we have 30,000 resumes, you tell me you got 6,000 jobs. Why do we have 6,000 jobs? Damn it, fill them. And of course it's not that easy. But there are opportunities there, and that age group certainly can come in. They will get services. Well, none of us can sit here and guarantee you they can get training dollars, but they may.
Well, our time is...
Oh, I'm sorry, 2 seconds, if I can. Adult education is funded by the feds and by the state. And the whole point is it's a second opportunity for anybody who's over 16. So obviously that'll include the age group that you're talking about. One of the things, though, about the federal side of it is that we're Title II of the funds that go to DOL. So we work closely with the department in whatever academic stuff we're doing. We're also trying to tie it into these are the jobs that are available, these are the trainings that are available. And we have talked for the coming year to be able to do more collaborations than just the one-stop assessor. We're talking about possible career pathways. We're talking about transition programs. So I think what you're going to see, especially if you're looking at a reiteration of the WIA Act down in Washington, which is, I think, going through the House right now. At some point in the future, you're going to see a lot more collaboration between the education and between the labor part, because they know what everybody out there already knows, is that education is what's going to make the better worker and what's going to make businesses more profitable.
Let me just tell you that the night that we took our oath, the governor had the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Labor, and the Director of DIDO, and said, starting tonight, you are joined at the hip. So we are doing everything in coordination and in conjunction with each other. I will also tell you, and I think Sonia will verify this, we were probably in office 6 or 8 months before we came to the realization that the labor staff, the staff at the Department of Labor, and the DIDO staff had actually never met. Now, that's a little dramatic, but they never had. So we sat down, and I mean, it was like a divine revelation. We all started having a much more of an understanding of exactly what each of our functions were, and the fact that we all could not be all things to all people. So it is working, and with this governor, we're going to have no choice but to be very close partners in all of this, and it'll work much better for the citizens of the state.
Thank you. You have all been a very attentive audience. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you what we're doing to train the workers with the skills that they need for new economy jobs. Thank you, panelists.